Om Nilambujasyam Komalangam Sita Samaropita Vamabhagam Panau Maha Sayakacharu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Adorations to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, who is very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side, and he's carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. Presently in Bālakāṇḍa, in Ramcharitmanas by Saint Tulsi Ji, verse number 86. And the storyline is Parvati, who was previously Satī, symbolizing intellect, the daughter of Daksha, finding that Daksha was not welcoming Shiva in all his great yajnas, sacrifices. Sati allowed herself to be burnt up by her own choice. Storyline is always very pathetic and impressive. But the idea is, in the realm of intellect, as long as you are being led by intellect within you, that's Sati. Intellect shows great fidelity to the goal, Shiva. But no matter how great it is, intellect has to undergo a change, a transformation, in order to be married to Shiva. Again, married term is allegorical. In order to realize Shiva, to be united with God. And all that story we have gone through. And presently that Sati, incarnated in the form of Parvati, the daughter of the spirit of Himalayas, and Mana Devi, spirit of Himalayas, spiritual potency. Mana is embodiment of humility. Now the whole situation has altered. Sati was with always very egotistic father, but now she is Parvati. Her father has no ego, but he is the mightiest mountain. And her mother, Mana term is negation of Mai. Mai is I am. Mana relates to a beautiful bird, an embodiment of simplicity. And as Parvati, she received inspiration from sage Narada that she must practice austerity. And she did lot of austerity, and lots of temptations were presented to her, and she remained unmoved. And finally, she succeeded, and she is now abiding with her father. But while this was going on, Shiva was busy with his own austerity. He was deeply involved with Rama Bhakti, devotion to Rama. And Rama appeared before him and told him that in order to maintain the divine plan of things in profound way, he must marry Parvati. But in spite of this, Shiva agreed, but in a storyline, he slipped into samadhi. And in order for him to be married to Parvati, he must be awakened from his samadhi. So the storyline says gods persuaded Cupid god Kāmadeva to bring agitation in Shiva's heart so that he could be brought to normal consciousness from his deep samadhi. And then he will be led to marry Parvati. Subtler meanings I have already given to you. And as I proceed, I will give you more. So in a storyline, Kāma, that's the Sanskrit term for Kāmadeva, Cupid god. Also, I have introduced to you the different names of Cupid god. Another name is Mara. Mara is, if mind is dominated by earthly passion, then we have no other recourse but to go through repeated embodiments. So Mara is to hit down. But it is Mara and Mara and Mara again. This is in a very subtle way. It's called Ultanam. Mara, Mara, Rama. Reverse the process. Instead of being hit by Kāma, also, whenever we talk about Kāma, we are referring to the group of malas, malos, Kāma, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. 6 vices. They are so natural to human mind that people don't mind their presence. On the other hand, if they are lacking, people don't know what to do. If there is nothing to hate, nothing to worry about, nothing to be fascinated by. So, but out of these 6 malas, Kāma, the earthly passion, this on the basis of which has evolved the philosophy of eat, drink, and be merry. The mass psychology is constantly fed by amorous sentiments. But as I have explained, the different sentiments are also implied in that amorous sentiment. Sentiment of laughing at your enemies, sentiment of egotistic vanity, and sentiments that cause a terrifying aspect in the human personality. All sentiments are extensions of Kāma. Now coming into storyline, Shiva is in deep meditation. And Kāmadeva, knowing that this will be the end of him, he picks up his best of arrows and from the creepers hidden behind the bushes and wondrous display of nature, he focused his attention on Shiva. Saurabha Pallava Madanu Biloka, Bhayau Kopu Kampeu Trailoka, Tabasimati Saranayana Upgara, Chivatitavata Kāma Bhayau Jarishara. Hidden in the midst of mango leaves, Shiva opened his eyes, seeing the bombardment of arrows of flowers. And when Shiva opened his eyes, there was a severe form of divine wrath. Not wrath, wrath is chariot. Led by that righteous indignation, Shiva opened his third eye. It implies, following this story, and understand the stories are not the reality. So you can extend this story. Shiva opened his first eye, the left. Then he opened both eyes, the right. And then he opened the third eye. When he opened the third eye, Kāma was burnt to ashes. Opening the first eye is practice of Shravana. Listen to the teachings and become deeply involved. Opening the second eye is Manana. What you have listened, you are assimilating it. Remember always, 3 obstacles to enlightenment. Sanshaya bhavana, asambhavana, viparita bhavana. Sanshaya bhavana is doubt. Mind has diffidence, doubt. The doubting aspect is dispelled by if you continue to be with satsanga and create satsanga atmosphere. Allow your ears to hear more and more of glory of God. So if you have done that, you've opened one eye. Shiva's one eye is open. This will locate where Kāma is, but will not destroy Kāma. And then comes Manana. Manana is now you are assimilating what you have been listening to. And Manana removes asambhavana. Asambhavana is a sense of impossibility. The difference is very great. Human mind, having developed a kind of mathematical evaluation of your status. Mind creates first a mathematical evaluation. And in the beginning, mind is crude. All the negative things, and you ignore them. I am the greatest. Who cares? But then when we begin to listen, now the table turns in a different way. Mind starts counting all the mistakes you have been doing and calculating if in one life I have done so many troublesome things. Imagine so many lives. And then we want to create a mathematical relationship. How much of those karmas can I remove by one day of sadhana? And it comes like it's like emptying the ocean with a blade of grass. Suddenly the mind comes to the state of asambhavana. It's impossible. It's there, God is there. Sadhana is good, but not in this life. But that error is corrected if you continue to listen. You do not allow a sense of humiliation to enter your heart, but a sense of profound dignity that you are a ray of God. And therefore, you are bound to succeed, because you are not going to succeed because of your ego's aid. The divine hand is there behind you. So there is no sense of asambhavana. Third one, viparita bhavana. Viparita bhavana is constantly turning your attention to projections of the mind, not to the screen-like consciousness. Pure consciousness is like the screen. Projections create the drama. When you sit in a cinema show, your mind focuses on projections, not on the screen. Because if it is focused on the screen, the entire story, even the worst things of this story will make you calm, and the best things will also stay calm, because all that you are seeing is your wonderful curtain, screen, that has no blemish, no matter what pictures have been projected. So that state is the state of Tattva Jnana. That state is the state of Shiva marrying Parvati. But prior to Shiva marrying Parvati, Kāma is destroyed. The third eye opens by the practice of Nididhyāsana, where the mind begins to flow towards the reality. Now the storyline, Kāma burnt up. Now there is dramatization. What will happen to the world if Kāma, which is always considered the troublemaker, if Kāma itself is destroyed? Hāhākāra bhayau jagadhāri, darape sura bhaya asura sukhari. A tremendous chaos, a grief-laden expression from the heart of everyone. Ha, ha, ha. Not ha ha with laughter. Hi, hi. And gods became frightened. All the virtuous qualities, they began to run away. And the vision of duality, that began to express more and more. That was Daitya, duality. And those who were bhogis, who enjoyed pleasures of the senses, and suddenly, just like a person who is enjoying all the pleasures, suddenly suffers from paralysis. What can you do? Remembering all the pleasures that they were expecting from the world. So there is a tremendous load of worry and anxiety that hovers over the minds of people. But then there are sadhaks, spiritual seekers, and yogis. They found it's wonderful. This kantak, country with thorns. The very thorn that comes on your path has been already taken away. That's called false satisfaction. Because if you are led to spiritual discipline without giving you any challenge in your life, just like you are walking, even children require challenging situations to build up their body, to strengthen their steps. If the world of desire is not there to begin with, the understanding of the glory of desirelessness will not enter your heart. So you have to double role of desire. That has to be understood. If desiring aspect was not there, we will not be seeing the market filled with people. They will be all at home. All the business that goes on in the world will stop. They will be all roosting. Or all will be like bears, hibernating. Or fishes in a shell. Yogi akantaka bhaye pati gati sunat rati murchita bhai rodati vadati bahu bihati karuna karati sankara pahi gai ati prem kari binati vividha vidhi jori karasana mukharahi prabhu asutosha kripala shiva abalani rakhi bole sahi. Yogis became hornless. That I have already explained. That's not the reality. But this is a description in a poetic way. And Rati term means delight. Any type of mental attitude you develop, along with it comes a delight. Viṣaya sukha, you are enjoying a mango. And when you see a squirrel watching at you, I'm joking. Then you develop a sense of special delight. So along with delight, there is a taste for the delight. And that taste aspect is called Rati. And Rati, again, something that's a powerful factor in human life. First stage of Rati, viṣaya Rati. Your mind goes after worldly enjoyment. Each time you think of enjoyment, you are counting your money in the bank. Count your friends, near and dear ones, and so forth. But that's called viṣaya Rati. Now, if you listen to the teachings of scriptures, stories of gods, it's called Katha Rati, Satsanga Rati. And Bhakti, devotion to God itself, is known as Anurakti. It's a Rati become little more transformed. In a viṣaya Rati, there is a defect. In the beginning, you enjoy a pleasure. But once you enjoy the pleasure, mind develops a will. May I secure that object so that there will be always happiness. So the predicament is, as time passes, object that has given you pleasure doesn't give you pleasure, but you hold on to the object. You become more and more aware of the burden the object has created. and mind being dull with, doesn't care. That's called love. But if you are developing love of God, even the slightest spark of divine love enters your heart, instead of building up burden in your heart, it unloads your heart of so many complexities. So now, therefore, your love grows bigger. And if that process has started in your heart, that's the entry of Bhakti Yoga in your personality. Mukti Bhakti ki dasi hai. If you have developed that type of bhakti, mukti or liberation is bound to come. There is no way mukti can run away from. Now coming back to this story, and I will try to focus on this story. Rati, finding her husband turned into ashes, she was under profound shock and crying, bewailing over the loss of her husband. She approached Shiva, pleading for Shiva's forgiveness, Shiva's compassion. And listening to all her prayers, Shiva, who is ocean of compassion, said to her, and knowing that she doesn't have any other support, Shiva said, "Ab te ravi rati tava nath kar hoi hi naam anang binu bapu vyapi hi sabahi puni sunu nijap milan prasang." Your husband will continue to exist without physical body. This is a higher grade. If you have dealt with Kāma in a gross level, then you are promoted to dealing with Kāma that is in Vāsanā level. So Kāma is not in the body. It doesn't relate to body. It relates to Vāsanā, subtle desires. And therefore there is big trouble, you see. And that shifting of attention is a progress. So when people hear about you have to be a sannyasi, you shouldn't be entangled by your relatives, wife and husband, etc. The mind is fighting against wife, husband and children and all that. This level is kindergarten level. Listening to the same talk, you don't fight against them. You realize it's Vāsanā. Your subtle desires in your mind has created the illusion that you are a husband or somebody is a wife or somebody is this, somebody is that. These relations are not realities. The reality is in your mind, what you have created, tied up certain illusions and created a rope in your neck. So the statement of Shiva, that though from Kāma is destroyed by sages who attain Viveka Buddhi, for them Kāma is burnt up. But for Those who are still advancing, Kāma continues in the unconscious, in the form of Vāsanā, allowing you to follow different levels, different stages of Kāma. It is Kāma that becomes spiritual aspiration, mumukshutva. जब जदुवंश कृष्ण अवतारा होई हरन महामहिमहि भारा कृष्ण तनय होई पति तोरा वचनु अन्यथा होई न मोरा. Following the storyline, Shiva said, when Lord Vishnu will incarnate in the form of Krishna, this very Kāma will incarnate as his son, Pradyumna. And that story will continue in Krishna's incarnation. So don't go after this story. Stories simply implies that everything repeats. Rati gavani suni sankara bani katha apar ab kahau bakani देवन समाचार सब पाए ब्रह्मादिक वैकुंठ सिधाए. Rati pacified, she went her way. Now let's go into the story of Shiva. When gods, Brahma, Vishnu and all gods, they heard about Shiva's awakening from Samadhi. First, these gods went to Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is where Lord Vishnu dwells. And then they, joining together with Vishnu, they all went to Kailash, where Shiva dwells. This is a storyline. Sab Sura Vishnu Viranchi Sameta Gaye Jahan Shiva Kripa Niketa Prithak Prithak Tinakin Prasansa Bhaye Prasanna Chandra Avatansa. Now you have a mystical setting. There is Shiva shining on his snowy throne in Kailasha mountains. And before him all the gods with their dazzling attire, Brahma, Vishnu and Indra, Varuna, Agni, Devata, all gods. And they offer prayer to Shiva. As a result of this, Shiva, who is adorned by the moon in his matted locks, Shiva became pleased. Bole kripa sindhu vrishaketu, kahau amar aaye kehi hetu. Shiva said, O gods, tell us what's the purpose that has led you to come to me. Kaha viditum Prabhu antarajami tadapi bhagati basa binavang Swami. And Brahmaji said, O Lord, you already know. You are antaryami, one who dwells within the heart and knows everything about the heart. However, out of devotion, let me present our request. Sakal suran ke hriday as sankar param uchhau nij nayanani dekha chahi nath tumhara vibhav. O Lord Shiva, his name is Shankar. Shan terms relate to all that is auspicious, good, sublime. Kar, doer, doer of auspiciousness. Therefore the term Shankara. All the gods said, we are all inspired in our heart to behold you're getting married to Parvati. So the whole description is like ordinary marriage type, but it has nothing to do with marriage. But this is for the mass mentality, this picture of marrying and seeing so many people involved as in marriage procession, this has a great impact. So you must realize the sages had to use psychology. यह उत्सव देखिए भरी लोचन, सोई कहू कछु कर करहु मदन मदबोचन. Again, you must realize the role of devas, devatas. Devatas are virtues. The virtuous qualities, they are always slippery. Until your soul becomes wedded to Viveka Buddhi. Soul potential is Śiva. Prakriti potential is Viveka Buddhi. When Śiva marries Buddhi, Viveka Buddhi, now the virtuous qualities are absolutely secure. But if that state has not come, virtuous qualities, they are slippery. Instead of allowing your heart to enjoy profounder peace, they inflate your ego. And you are led from one embodiment to another after earthly prosperity. This point has to be well understood. The same virtues have to be seen from two angles. And that's a speciality of Hindu religion. यह उत्सव देखिए भरी लोचन, सोई कछ करहु मदन मदमोचन. O Shiva, the destroyer of the pride of Kāma, Cupid God, we are all eager to behold your marriage. You burnt up Kāmadeva and gave boon to Rati. Subtle point behind it is Kāma is burnt. Then the Rati, the spirit of delight in you, is not at a loss. The spirit of delight in you becomes much more free. Because now your Kāma has turned to love of God. And the love that brings delight is totally different, profound. And that's what Shiva did. Destroyed Kāma and consoled Rati by giving her that capacity which she couldn't imagine. सा सती करी पुनि करहि पसाऊ, नाथ प्रभु न कर सहज सुभाऊ. पार्वती तपु कीन्ह अपारा, करहु तासु अब अंगीकारा. Great Swamis, the Lord and Master, in a very spiritual sense. It is their very nature. First they scold you, punish you. Next, they enfold you in their profound love. Just like a mother seeing the child filled with muck, scolds the child. But even while scolding the child and wiping the mud off, she goes on holding the child. And that's the role of scriptures. Scriptures are called Shastra, Shasakatraya. Scriptures give you three types of control. Manasa, Vacha, Karmana. Controlling what you think. Controlling what you speak. Controlling what you do. While guiding you to control, the scriptures don't give any relaxation. They go with a hand slapping after your ears. But when you come under their control, now the scriptures open up their treasure to your heart. So having in a storyline, in a literal way it seems, first beat the person up and then shower the grace. First discipline. Create the chariot in such a way the horses are disciplined by the driver of the horses. The reins that control the horses are healthy, and so forth. When every item of the chariot is in proper place. Similarly, your personality is a chariot. Your senses, your mind, your intellect, your ego, all these are different aspects of the chariot. The scriptures put the chariot in order. And once it is there, your chariot is being driven to the goal. And the whole movement now becomes very easy. So you can look at it as a stage of punishment, or look at it as a stage of a joyous grace. Parvati ji has done intense austerity. O Shiva, now marry her. Another, this Sanskrit word behind this is angikar. Angikar karo. Viveka Buddhi should become a part of your personality. Angikar means personality. Your whole body is ang. Bring the Viveka Buddhi and make it a part of your personality. सुनि विधि विनय समुझि प्रभु बानी, ऐसे ही हो कहा सुकुमानी, तब देवन दे नुंदु भी बजाई, वर्षि सुमन जय जय सुर साई. When Brahma spoke of his prayer, and Shiva, remembering what the divine Rama had told him, Shiva said, may it be so. He agreed. Once Shiva agreed, gods started beating their drums and they started showering flowers. All this goes on happening day by day, you see. If you have brought out a divine feeling in your heart and done something magnanimous, flowers begin to shower within you. But flowers that are not handled in ordinary way, the flowers are all thoughts and feelings with their special aroma. In other words, you experience inner inspiration, inner joy, and an inner form of encouragement. अवसरु जानि सप्त ऋषि आए, तुरत ही विधि गिरि भवन पठाए. and finding the opportune moment, those great 7 sages came, and Brahmaji sent them to the palace of the Himalayas. First they went to where Parvati lived, and in a satirical manner they said to her, still there is a sense of scolding. See, sometimes scolding term comes in different stages. You scold, what your scolding is simply highlighting your greatness. You got to figure that out. That's it. In every culture that stage comes. कहा हमार न सुनेहु तब नारद के उपदेश अपभा झूठ तुम्हारपन जारेउ काम महेश. Those saptarshis, remember those saptarshis are the 7 spirits behind the 7 steps of wisdom. Now they are scolding her. O Parvati, you didn't listen to our teachings, the teachings that you should not marry Shiva. See what has happened? Shiva burned the Cupid god. There can't be any honeymoon. Now he resolved to marry Shiva has failed. Shiva has burnt up Kāma. Suni boli muskai bhavani, uchit kahehu munivar vigyani, tumhare jaan काम अब जारा, अब लगी शंभु रहे सविकारा. Parvati Devi smiled and said, O great sages, you have said well that Shiva has burnt up Kāma. As if Shiva has been under the influence of Kāma so long, and now he has burnt that up. If that is your opinion and your view, keep it with yourselves. Hamare jaan sada shiva jogi, aja anavadya kama bhogi, jau main शिव से ये अस जानी, प्रीति समेत कर्म मन बानी. But according to my understanding, Shiva is always absolute yogi, unborn, taintless, void of desires, void of dependence on enjoyments of the world. If I have meditated on Shiva with that understanding, तो हमारा पन सुनहु मुनीषा, करिहहि सत्य कृपा निधीशा. If I have meditated on Shiva in that manner, then Shiva will make my resolve real. तुम जो कहा हर जारे उमारा, सोई अति बड़ा अविवेक तुम्हारा. And this news you have brought that Shiva destroyed Kāma, this is your worst expression of lack of discrimination. This is your most dull-wit expression. Tata nal kar sahaj svabhu is just like saying, do you know the sun rose, fought against the darkness, and turned them into ashes. And you say, what a wonderful news. Gaye samip so avasi nasai, asi manamat mahesh ki nai. It is the very nature of the fire that anything, mist, frost, cannot approach fire. The moment it approaches, it burns up. And such is the relationship between Lord Shiva and Kāma. Kāma is the misty expression of Maya, unreal. Kāma is like darkness. How can darkness stand before the sun? Ye harshe muni bachan suni, dekhi priti vishwas, chale bhavani nai sir, gaye himachal pas. This was the last scolding from the sages, which they received the answer by another type of scold. Now the sages, with extreme delight in their heart, they offered their prayers to Devi, Parvati, and then they approached Himalayas, the deity of the Himalaya. And now the story focuses on the marriage that will occur between Shiva and Parvati, and how all the marriage parties from Brahma, Vishnu, and all the glorious aspects of the world come together, even mountains and rivers, all join, all good things of the three planes. And that type of marriage is the unfoldment of Viveka Buddhi, intuitive intellect. And this again is not the end. He marries Parvati in order to have son Subramanya, who will destroy Tarakasur, ignorance. He marries in order to have Tattva Gyan, and Tattva Gyan will destroy ignorance. So those two steps are still to come. And with this I will conclude.